Hey entrepreneurs, it's AJ and welcome back to Business as Unusual, clarity and confidence during uncertain times. Today's topic is keeping employees motivated during a pandemic. And today's topic is inspired by the Nissan Ariya, which is Nissan's new SUV crossover that's fully electric. It was launched recently. Now, you might be thinking, well, what the hell does a car launch have to do with employee motivation? Let me explain. I'm a little bit excited, so excuse the passion coming out of me right now. So Nissan has, I'm a huge fan of cars, and Nissan's been a very interesting brand of mine, mainly because of, I just lusted over the old Z32 300ZX. It was my dream car to drive. I never actually ended up getting one. So a couple of years ago, I connected with a dealer principal here in Victoria, Cameron Seamark. And I just love hearing his stories about the brand. Like, he's at the front, you know, this is the retail arm of Nissan, and he owns a dealership, and he shares just really beautiful stories about customers, the cars, previous models. It's really just, it's passion, right? It's really passion. So I've really enjoyed the connection with Nissan through Cameron. The other person I connected with a few years ago is someone from Nissan Financial Services. He's a senior executive there. I won't mention him by name, but he's watching this video because I've sent it to him. So I just want to thank him for his just sort of educating me on what the company is doing on a larger scheme. Because Nissan to me has always just been a car company. But thanks to my friend, the executive, he really opened my eyes on what Nissan is really doing. And that is all about intelligent mobility. And most auto manufacturers are doing mobility, but basically what that is about how do we take a person from point A to point B and do it in such an innovative and creative and sustainable way. And it just took my thinking to new levels. And ever since that day we connected and hearing these stories of how he talks about the company, it just blows my mind. So I've been watching it very carefully. And then I stumbled upon the launch of the Ariya, which is the new crossover SUV that's fully electric. The story behind the launch is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. Remember, this thing got launched amidst a pandemic, a global pandemic. So there is some incredible lessons to learn between how a company as large and successful as Nissan has adapted the way they do things to be able to produce this car and launch it out there to the world. So I want to share with you a couple of lessons from there. First lesson is I'm curious about the names of the car, right? So Ariya. So I went and Googled that, and there's all different sorts of meanings of the word Ariya, you know, but most of it is very positive, and it actually relates to, you know, rays of sunshine, hope, you know, really positive stuff. So it's a cool thing that you know, the Ariya is a very cool name. And what I find remarkable was that the way Nissan employees are talking about this car, like everyone is just sharing these really personal stories about what this car means to them. And I saw one of these personal stories from Alison Witherspoon, who's the VP of marketing of Nissan. And Alison shared the day that she was sitting around the boardroom table and they were throwing out names for the new car, and it ended up being her niece's name that was the inspiration for the project. I thought, wow, you cannot be more connected to a car when it's named after your niece, you know, like that is incredible. I bet you she won Auntie of the Year for that one. So just these really incredible personal stories. And then recently I read a blog post from Madhu Nutaki, who's the Chief Customer Experience Officer for the digital arm of Nissan. And Madhu basically really highlights the complexity of a launch. Because you've got to remember, right? COVID-19 has hit. We're amidst a global pandemic. How the hell do you launch a car amidst a global pandemic when the game's completely changed? Now, ordinarily, before COVID-19, Nissan is in 125 markets globally, and the launch process of any new automobile is pretty standard. There's nothing special about it. You know, they do a lot of press, they do videos. The car drives up on stage with lights and, you know, music and everything. The CEO gives a spiel. But all that needs to change now, thanks to COVID. So how do you actually orchestrate a launch and coincide it with a brand relaunch? It's incredibly complex. So that's the context that you need to keep in mind here. So Madhu shared the story in his post, and he said basically, look, these were the complexities we were dealing with, and it was really interesting trying to keep his teams, his employees motivated when there's so much bad news around them. And he shared 3 pivotal lessons, which I think were really important for all of us here trying to navigate to the new normal. The first lesson that he shared was that you can only improve what you can control. Improve what you can control. So as soon as the pandemic hit, and because of Nissan's presence in China, they were aware right from the start that something could go wrong. And then Chinese New Year came and they realized we can't have an in-person launch. They also looked at their dashboards, and as soon as everyone locked down all around the world, no one was walking into dealerships. That's the point of sale. That's how Nissan makes their money, by selling cars. No one's walking into dealerships. What can you do? So they suddenly realized that while the in-person store experience was dead, the digital interest in the brand and the vehicles was still quite strong. So they decided to refocus on that and really focus on how do we adapt the in-person store experience to a digital variety. So they came up with the shop at home. So now you can sit at home and buy a car from your lounge room. It's pretty cool, and it doesn't sound like much, but you have to remember, this is a traditional automotive company. Yeah, they have amazing cars, but the way they take those cars to market, nothing special has happened in a very long time in that business model. And now all of a sudden, because of a global pandemic, they've had to adapt. Really powerful. The second thing he shared was refocus on the future. Every day during the pandemic, and you would realize this too, there's bad news upon bad news upon bad news. And nothing depresses a person more than bad news constantly shoved in your face. So what do? You refocus on a stronger purpose behind the brand. So Madhu's team was talking about his team sort of supporting their customers in delivering these products to, the cars to sale. But so they're supporting customers, but they're also seeing how the rest of the company is adapting to the constraints like physical distancing. So when there's physical distancing, how the hell are you meant to test drive a car? Well, you can't really. So you have to adapt that process too. And that's what they did. They came up with this concept of the virtual test car. You can actually see how Ariya fits into your own life. The third lesson he shared was really about keeping things simple. Global companies have access to a hell of a lot of data, which they inevitably throw into some sort of dashboard, right? So you got all these signals going on and confusing people that are already stressed. Well, Madhu stripped away all of that. They came up with some core metrics that were really important, and they paid super laser focused attention to them. And when you combine those 3 lessons, all of a sudden your employees aren't focusing on what they've lost. They're focusing around the purpose of making Ariya the best, most successful car launch in the history of the company. And that is inspiring, that is engaging, that is incredibly motivating. And that, my friends, is a lesson behind the Nissan Ariya launch. It's not just a car. It's a symbol of a new way of doing business. And that is what I love about this story. And the opportunity is open for all of us to do the same if we have the courage to dig deep and reimagine the way business could be done. So remember, folks, as I say in my global keynote, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And so I hope that this story, the story of Ariya, has really inspired you to go out there and do amazing things. My name's AJ Kulatunga. Thanks for watching this video, and I look forward to serving you in this new era of business as unusual. Take care.